Here are my tips on becoming a better guitar player or a better musician all round if guitar isn't your main instrument. The first thing I want to point out is that I certainly don't think I'm particularly good on the guitar. I'm average, but I do study and I want to pass on the things that I've learned and the things that I'm currently learning to see if they will help you. So the first tip, pretty obvious, you need to practice. If you don't practice, you're not going to get better. I used to teach one-to-one, I don't really do that anymore, and I used to teach a guy for about 5 years, and he'd come to me for an hour each week and I'd give him a lesson, and he'd go home and wouldn't practice it once. Then he'd come back the following week and he wondered why he never got any better. So I have a little equation which is discipline multiplied by time equals result. So what you put in, if you do that every day, 10 years later you'll be awesome at it, whatever you're doing. And it's the same whether you're playing guitar, playing football, learning to juggle. Discipline times time equals results. So practice every day and you cannot help but get better. My next tip would be to play different genres. So if you see yourself as a metal guitar player only or a jazz guitar player only, then you're missing a whole world of other techniques, of other influences, of some great guitar pieces that you just would never come across if you tie yourself down to one type or one style of music. So try and broaden your horizons, look outside what you normally do, and you'll learn a lot more. Another important thing is to actually focus during practice. So it's quite easy, if you've got an hour to practice guitar, to just pick it up, noodle it, look at the clock, and an hour's gone by and you've actually achieved nothing except play the same licks you've played 50,000 times. So I would suggest take 1 minute at the start of your practice routine to write out what you're going to practice and focus on practicing that. Number 4, search for inspiration. So you might have a favourite guitar player or favourite band, that's great, look at those, but try and find some other stuff that you can really get into to help you to motivate yourself. It doesn't even have to be guitar playing, it could be piano, it could be saxophone, it could be flute, it could be something orchestral and then you want to rearrange it for guitar, but try and find inspiration each day. If you've reached a plateau and you feel that you're not getting any better, whatever you're doing, stop doing it and do something different. And I don't necessarily mean instead of playing guitar go and play with your dog, I mean play something totally different. So if you've been working on a metal solo for 3 weeks and you just aren't getting it, put it aside for a couple of weeks and learn some jazz songs or do something else and then come back to it at another time. Find a teacher or some teachers. So one thing that I've always found really useful when I seem to hit a bit of a wall is I find somebody that can teach me that knows a lot more than I do. I've done this recently with an awesome guitar player locally and he has taught me that within the 1 minute of the first lesson he said, right, do this, and I was like, never thought of it like that. Instantly it changed how I thought about what I was doing. So sometimes going and just having a lesson with somebody different or new will give you some total inspiration. Also on the subject of teachers, you've got a great resource here, YouTube. This wasn't around when I was learning guitar as a kid, but there are lessons by some of the greatest players in the world on here. So just search and study it every day. Find something new to watch and something new to try out. Number 6, work on your ear. So music is all about listening and transferring that into emotion. So if you can't hear music and then put it onto your instrument, it's harder for you to get out of your instrument what you want to hear. I know that sounds a bit backwards, but it kind of makes sense. So concentrate and focus on listening to music and trying to figure out what they're playing. This will also help with your improvisation as well, because the more you're listening and figuring things out, the easier it becomes to figure out where to go from where you are on your instrument to where you want to get to. So work on your ear. Something that I quite often like to do is imagine some music and then get it onto my instrument. So rather than actually listening to something physical and then putting it onto my instrument, I think of something, I might come up with a little melody in my head and then I have to figure out how to play it. Or I might come up with a riff in my head and figure out how to play it. And that's a really good way of writing as well as working on your ear. Number 7, play with other people. Playing in your bedroom is fine. However, when you get out there and play with other musicians, you will find that it's a completely different game and your abilities will improve. As well as playing with other people in a live one-to-one sort of situation, play with other people on album, so stick on your favourite CD and jam along to it. Stick on some music that you don't normally listen to and try and play along to that. And this again will help your timing, your phrasing, and all of your musicianship in general. Number 8, record yourself. So one of the best ways to hear your progress and to also hear what needs work is to record yourself. So if you can afford it, then try and get some recording software on your computer or your iPad or your iPhone or whatever you use, and listen back to it, because you'll hear subtle little things that you didn't know that you were doing. You'll also hear sometimes how good it sounds, but also sometimes how bad it sounds. And when you're playing in the moment, you don't hear it, but when you listen back to it, you'll think, oh, that was a bit dodgy. I need to go back and do a bit more practice. Number 9, set goals. So musical goals. This can be, I want to learn to play this particular song by this particular date. It could be, I want to learn all of my modes in the key of C major by this date. It could be, I want to improve my tempo from 100 beats per minute to 120 beats per minute in this amount of time. It could be, I want to get into a band by this time. I want to write my first song. So write yourself out some goals and work towards them. When you've written out your practice routines, make sure that it aligns with your goals. Number 10, I would recommend doing your musical grades. The reason I say that is because there will be things in there that you don't know, and that will help you develop and take your playing to the next level. Also, it gets you into a situation where you have to perform in front of somebody. So if you're not used to doing that, it can be a bit nerve-wracking, but it instantly gets you into a place that you haven't been before, out of your comfort zone, and it will move you forward pretty quickly. Again, if you find a good teacher, they should be able to take you through your grades. There are lots of ways of doing your grades. There are lots of different examination boards, I suppose you could call them. So over here in the UK, we've got the Registry of Guitar Teachers, RGT, we've got Rock School, there are other ones as well. So find the one which you think suits you best or will cover the stuff that you want to learn in the best way, and yeah, just go for it. And this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Number 11, be patient. So if you've just started to play guitar, or whatever your instrument is, you probably want to give yourself 3 years to get to a reasonable level. To master anything, they reckon takes about 10,000 hours, which is about 10 years. It could be a lot shorter if you practice 8 hours a day, but that's not a luxury most of us can afford. So yeah, don't expect to be Guthrie Govan in 3 months. You probably wouldn't get there in 300 years because that guy's an alien. But you can be as good as you can be the more you work at it. So be patient, but work hard. Number 12, never ever ever give up. So no matter how frustrated you get, no matter how it feels like your fingers won't do what you want them to do, or your fingers and your brain don't work in the same way at the same time, don't give up, because small incremental improvements over time will equal success. Don't compete against somebody else, compete against yourself. Just try and be better than you were yesterday. And I just recently watched a TED Talk, and I'm going to put the link in the description, and it's about not giving up. You need to watch it. It will blow your mind, and it will show you that anything is possible if you keep working hard at it. So I hope that those little tips will be useful to you. As I said, I'm still learning every day and trying to get better every day and practicing every day and getting frustrated every day, but you just got to keep on working. Hard work is where it's at. So keep practicing and enjoy it.